Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear Assalamu alaikum, dear students, welcome to all of you. Today I am telling you we have completed 3 chapters. Today we will start chapter number 4, History of Pakistan, part 1. In this chapter we will study initial problems of Pakistan and Quaid-e-Azam role as Pakistan's first Governor General and Liaquat Ali Khan role as first Prime Minister of Pakistan, and we will discuss the Constitution of Pakistan, salient feature of 1956 Constitution, important points of 1962 Constitution, explain the important events of Ayub Khan era, and we will discuss about the Yahya Khan regime and also discuss the causes of separation of East Pakistan. First, we will start with the exercise of detailed question answer. Question number 5 is describe the early problem of Pakistan, and the answer of this question is on your book page number 93 to page number 97. And in this answer you will write the early problems of Pakistan, and at the time of the creation of Pakistan, all of you know that Pakistan came into existence on 14th August 1947. Soon after its establishment, Pakistan faced number of problems. Most of the problems of Pakistan were related with Pakistan dispute with India, such as the accession of the princely states and canal water dispute, refugees problem, and distribution of armed and military assets. In fact, most of the problems were deliberately created by Indians. And the early problem of Pakistan was choice of capital and establishment of government and unfair boundary distribution, and the Muslim refugees, and division of military and the financial assets, and canal water dispute, Kashmir dispute, annexation of princely state, economic problems. And at the time of independence, Pakistan consisted of economically backward and underdeveloped areas, and the agriculture system was obsolete and outdated, which added to the economic background of the areas forming the part of Pakistan. The entire capital was in hand of the Hindus. Unfortunately, the banks and the other financial institutions were located in Indian territory. Beside these factors, the technical experts and the laborers who operated the industries were also Hindus, and because of the Muslim extremely lagged behind in education and the financial capabilities. And at the time of independence, the division of financial assets was cash balance of the total India was 4 billion rupees in the Reserve Banks of India, which was to be divided between India and Pakistan. Pakistan was to receive 750 million rupees, which was initially delayed by the Indian government. After the protest of Pakistan, India agreed to pay 200 million rupees. As the war between India and Pakistan had started on the issue of Kashmir, India again stopped the rest of the amount. However, the remaining 50 million rupees are still not paid, and the money was Pakistan's rightful share. Indian deliberately withhold it because they hoped that Pakistan would become bankrupt, and Pakistan did not receive the military and assets, and the dishonest attitude put Pakistan into great difficulties, and Pakistan started its arm and finance from zero, or to be precise, even below it. And the equipments and the machinery which were given to Pakistan mostly out of order. It was announced on July 1st, 1947 that Indian Army would also be divided in the ratio of 64% to 36% between India and Pakistan. The next issue is the canal water dispute between India and Pakistan. Most of the river flowing in Pakistan have their origin in India. In 1948, India stopped water supply to Pakistani canals to damage the Pakistani agriculture. However, on 9th September 1960, an agreement called Indus Basin Treaty or Indus Water Treaty was signed between the two countries. And a very important and very initial problem of Pakistan had to face was to choose a capital, to form a government, and to establish a secretariat. Karachi was chosen as the capital of Pakistan. Quaid-e-Azam took the office of Governor General and Liaquat Ali Khan was appointed as the Prime Minister, and a cabinet of experienced persons was selected. Arrangements were to be made to bring the official who had opted for Pakistan from Delhi to Karachi. And issue of the national language is also very important, because after the establishment of Pakistan, language controversy was started between East and the West Wing, and the members of the Constituent Assembly belonged to the East Pakistan demanded that instead of Urdu, Bengali should be made national language of Pakistan. In March 1948, while addressing at Dhaka, Quaid-e-Azam declared Urdu and Urdu alone would be the national language of Pakistan. Another problem is the unfair boundary distribution. The Boundary Commission set up under the Sir Cyril Ratcliffe and proved to be a treacherous one for Pakistan. Lord Mountbatten's influence and incline toward India helped as Gurdaspur, Firozpur, Jalandhar and Kashmir were sided with India, even though all these were Muslim majority areas. Rehabilitation of the refugees who reached Pakistan was a big problem for Pakistan at that time, and there was no base of accommodation for the refugees. Again, the leadership had to resort the public buildings and barracks. Refugees and aid camps were set up, and sustenance was given to the refugees. Quaid-e-Azam told to the refugees, Pakistan has to come, stay, and it will stay. Number 6 is elaborate the important points of objective resolution, and the answer of this question is on your book page number 100 to 102 page. And the important points of the objective resolutions are sovereignty of Allah and Islamic legislation, Islamic values, Islamic way of life, federal government and fundamental rights, development of backward areas, protection of minorities, and independence of judiciary. And you also write the importance of objective resolution. And objective resolution was passed on 12th March 1949, and it was passed by the Constitution Assembly and moved by Liaquat Ali Khan, the first Prime Minister of Pakistan. It specified the objectives and important features of the future of the Constitution of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. And in the objective resolution, sovereignty of Allah was declared as the distinctive political philosophy, and the limits were provided to exercise power are to be the one given by God. Minorities were given their due rights. This resolution provides the framework for future constitution of Pakistan. Objective resolution was the first constitutional document that proved to be the foundation of the constitutional development in Pakistan and provide the parameters and principles to the legislators, and it was moved by Liaquat Ali Khan, the first Prime Minister of Pakistan. And the very important thing is that this objective resolution was also called a great manifesto, Magna Carta, while paved the way for making of the Constitution of Pakistan. Question number 7 is write a salient features of the Constitution of 1962. And the answer of this question is on your book page number 111 and ends in 113 page. And the salient feature of Constitution of 1962, all these 11 points are included in it. Number 1 is written constitution, federal constitution, presidential constitution, rigid constitution, unicameral legislature, single citizenship, fundamental rights, Islamic provision, Islamic advisory council, national languages, and indirect democracy. All these 11 points are included in this answer. General Ayub Khan, the chief martial administrator, wanted to introduce controlled and limited democracy, as he believed that Western style democracy did not suit Pakistan. Therefore, he introduced the Constitution of 1962 on 1st March and abrogated the previous constitution. Main features of 1962 was the presidential form of government, basic democracy, principle of maximum provincial autonomy, equality of mankind, independence of judiciary, right of minorities. Islamic Advisory Council was constituted to advise government over Islamic law making. Constitution of 1962 was a written document, and it consisted of 5 schedules and 250 articles. This is a rigid constitution, and a rigid constitution can only be amended through a particular process, and if an amendment to be constitution is passed by at least 2/3 majority of the parliament, that it became a part of law after authentication by the president. And a federal system was introduced in 1962 constitution, and it consisted of the central government and 2 provincial governments comprising East and West Pakistan. Presidential form of government in 1962 constitution, and the president was the head of the executive of the nation, and he was empowered to nominate the ministers of his cabinet. The Constitution of 1962 declared that the Republic of Pakistan as the country name. However, on the public reaction, the word Islamic was included later on, and the full name of the country thus became the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. And 1962 Constitution introduced the presidential form of government, and Constitution of 1962 introduced indirect election. The president was elected by the Electoral College comprising 80,000 basic democratic members and equally distributed between the 2 provinces, the eastern wing and the western wing of Pakistan. Provincial government, each of them was headed by the governor, and they enjoyed powers in the province which the president enjoyed the power in the center. The governor was empowered to appoint a provincial minister with the sanction of the president of Pakistan. And provincial legislature, each province was provided with a legislature. It originally consisted of 150 members. However, later on this number was increased to 218. According to the 1962 Constitution, the president should be a Muslim with the term of 5 years, and he was eligible to promulgate the ordinance and veto against the legislated laws. And however, the president was not empowered to dissolve the assembly except the cost of his office also. And restriction to the president was in 1962 Constitution. The president was not allowed to hold any office of profit in the service of Pakistan, but was not prevented from holding and managing the private property. No law would be passed against the teaching of Quran and Sunnah according to 1962 Constitution. And in this Constitution, the fundamental rights and of speech and expressions of freedom to choose the profession and freedom to profess the religious with regards to civil rights, familiar right such as the rights of life and property were granted. Role of judiciary. The judiciary was responsible for the interpretation of laws and executive order in the light of the principle And in a written constitution, language of Urdu and Bengali both were recognized as the national languages. These are some important points of 1962 constitution. Now move to the next question. Question number 8 is describe the causes of the separation of East Pakistan. And the answer of this question is on your book, page number 125 to 128, the causes of the separation of Pakistan. And all these 14 points are included in the answer of this question. Ayub Khan dictatorial era, and lack of the national leadership, poor economic condition, negative role of Hindu teachers, issue of Bengali language, prejudice, and territorial politics of the politicians, and conspiracies of big power, 6-point formula of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, Bhutto Mujibur Rahman differences, and success of regional parties, military action, hijacking of Ganga aeroplane, Indians military interference, and all these points are included in this answer. East Pakistan was the eastern provincial wing of Pakistan between 1947 and 1971, covering the territory of the modern country Bangladesh, and its land border were with India and Burma, with a coastline on the Bay of Bengal. East Pakistanis were popularly known as Pakistani Bengalis, and they distinguish this region from the Indian state West Bengal, which is also known as the Indian Bengal. East Pakistan was known as the Pakistani Bengal, and East Pakistan was renamed from East Bengal by the one unit scheme of Pakistani Prime Minister Muhammad Ali Bogra, and the Constitution of Pakistan of 1956 replaced the British monarchy with an Islamic republic, and Bengali politicians served as the Prime Minister of Pakistan between 1956 and 1957, and a Bengali bureaucrat, Sikandar Mirza, became the first president of Pakistan. The 1958 General Ayub Khan came into power, and he replaced Mirza as a president and launched a crackdown against the pro-democratic leaders. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was the opposition leader in Pakistan and launched the 6-point movement for autonomy and democracy, and the 1969 uprising in East Pakistan contributed to Ayub Khan's overthrow, and another general, Yahya Khan, became the martial law administrator. In 1970, Yahya Khan organized the Pakistan's first federal general election, and the Awami League emerged as the single largest party in the country, followed by the Pakistan People's Party, and the military not accepting the result, leading to the civil disobedience, the Bangladesh Liberation War, and the 1971 Bangladesh was created on the world map. Political system in Pakistan broke down in 1971 because of the output failure arising out of the conflict among the East and West Pakistan. So the separation of East Pakistan occurred in 1971. Question number 9 is explain the salient feature of legal framework order. And the answer of this question is on your book, page number 123. Legal Framework Order LFO 1970, and all these 10 points are included in this answer. The Legal Framework Order 1970 was issued by the President of Pakistan, General Agha Muhammad Shah Khan, that laid down the political principle and laws governing the 1973 general election, which was the first direct election in the history of Pakistan. And the LFO also dissolved the one unit scheme of West Pakistan and re-establishing the 4 provinces of Punjab, Sindh, Balochistan, and the Northwest Frontier Province, now called the KPK. Pakistan would be a democratic country, and the complete name of the country would be Islamic Republic of Pakistan. And the main purpose of the LFO is that Yahya Khan would make it possible that free and fair election will be conducted in Pakistan and a new constitution will be made soon. The features of the LFO 1970 are mentioned in your book, and you can also see in your screens. The National Assembly of Pakistan will consist of 313 seats, with 13 seats reserved for women out of 313, and 169 seats were to be for East Pakistan and 85 for Punjab, 28 for Sindh, 19 for NWFP, and 5 for Balochistan, and 7 seats were allotted to the tribal areas. Each province will have a provincial assembly consisting of electing members. East Pakistan Provincial Assembly will have 400 members, Punjab 186, in Sindh 62 members, in Balochistan 21 members, and 42 members in KPK. The election of the National Assembly will be held on 5th October 1970, and for provincial assemblies not later than 22nd October. And the new constitution of Pakistan will allow these principles. Pakistan will be a federal republic and known as Islamic Republic of Pakistan. The head of Pakistan state would be a Muslim, and the principle of democracy will prevail by holding free elections from the federal and provincial legislature on the basis of a dual franchise, and all provinces will be given maximum autonomy while the center will also remain strong. The citizen of the country will be able to participate actively in the affairs of the state. The constitution of the country will make it possible for the Muslim of Pakistan to live their lives according to the teaching of Islam. The LFO clarified the status of the national and the provincial assemblies. It stated that the National Assembly would either be the only legislature, provided that federal legislature consisted of one house, or it would be the lower house if federation has two houses. Its tenure would be for the full term in both cases. The same same procedure with the provincial assemblies. Within 120 days of the first meeting of the National Assembly, it would form a constitution bill, and if it fails to do so, it will dissolve. After the election of the National Assembly, provision will be made to arrange its meetings. The LFO set broad outline structure, conditions, and qualifications. Any contesting political party failing to qualify these conditions would not be able to participate in election. Students, now you should remember all these points and learn them by heart. Now move to the next question. Question number 10 is narrate the events of the IndoPak War 1965. The answer of this question starts from 115 page and ends on 118 page, and the events of the war and Kasur, Sialkot, Rajasthan, air war, naval war, ceasefire, effects of war, and unity and solidarity among Pakistani people. All these points are included in this answer. India committed an open aggression against Pakistan to materialize its expansionist intentions and attack Pakistan on the night of 6 September. Although Pakistan had far less military and economic resources as compared to India, yet the armed forces of Pakistan, filled with the spirit of jihad, forced an enemy many times bigger than it to face a defeat. A brief account of the causes of the September 1965 war lasted for 17 days. India, intoxicated with power, started war against China in 1962 and was defeated badly. Afterwards, to remove this stigma, India tried to occupy the disputed territory of Ran of Kutch, but had to face a total defeat. Thus, to restore its lost dignity, India started war against Pakistan. General elections were to be held in India. Congress wanted to win these elections. It decided to conquer Pakistan to get votes from the voters. And with the efforts of the United Nations, the ceasefire took place on the dawn of September 23rd, 1965, and Pakistan got international fame and it elevated its dignity. Kashmir issue was once again highlighted. Pakistan learned that America and Europeans had two faces characters, and the way China stood by Pakistan is this critical time helped Pakistan and differentiating between friends and the foe, and the Islamic countries supported Pakistan in this war, which made Pakistan proud. And the very important thing in this war is the unity and solidarity among the people of Pakistan. Even the politicians of the country and the opposition leaders, they offered their unconditional and full support to Ayub Khan, and this was a very good step by the politicians, and from a street person to a high official, and from a labor work to a businessman, every single person cooperated with government and contributed in defense fund. People donate the blood for their brothers who were fighting against the enemies, and they also offered their services to Pakistan army, and Pakistani artists, though their art encouraged their soldiers. In short, the entire nation faced the enemy courageously and stood victorious in the war. Question number 11 is explain the role of Quaid-e-Azam as the first Governor General of Pakistan. This question is very important, and the answer of this question is on your book, page number 97 and page number 98. Quaid-e-Azam role as the first Governor General of Pakistan. Quaid-e-Azam worked as a Governor General of Pakistan for 13 months, and because he died on 11th September 1948. During this period, he solved many important national issues. As soon as the Quaid-e-Azam took an immediate action and nominated members of the federal cabinet to run the government affairs smoothly. Liaquat Ali Khan was elected as the Prime Minister. Other members of the cabinet were also nominated. The first cabinet of Pakistan took oath on 15th August 1947, and the Act of 1935 was amended and enforced in the country as there was no constitution available of the newly born state. Thus, this great achievement was done under the administrative leadership of the Quaid-e-Azam, that he established the Constitution Assembly on 11th August 1947. Karachi was made the capital of Pakistan. For the administrative reformation, a committee was set up and Chaudhry Muhammad Ali was made the Secretary General. Civil services were reorganized and Civil Services Academy was constituted. The Secretariat was established. Moreover, headquarters of Army, Navy and Air Force were set up. And realizing the sensitivity of foreign affairs, Quaid-e-Azam paid his attention to the foreign policy. He developed healthy relations with the neighboring and developed countries. That were the main objective of our foreign policy. After independence, Quaid-e-Azam paid immediate attention for acquiring the membership of the United Nations organization. On 30th September 1947, Pakistan became the member of the UNO. This all was done under the dynamic leadership of Quaid-e-Azam. implementation of the educational policy. Education plays an important role in the development of the country. It improves the living standard of a nation and development. Education sector also needed attention at the time of independence. For this purpose, he held the first educational conference in 1947. He wished that every citizen of Pakistan should serve his nation with honesty and national spirit. Made scientific and technological education compulsory for the student. Qaid-e-Azam did a lot to improve education policy of the country, and Qaid-e-Azam served his country till his death. Despite his bad health, he kept on going through the important files. He served the country with honesty, and these were the most important work done by the Qaid-e-Azam as a Governor General in a very short period of a 13 month, and these achievements of the Qaid-e-Azam will not be forgotten by the people of Pakistan. Now move to the next question. Question number 12. Describe the different step of basic democratic system. The answer of this question is on page number 108 to 110, and the basic democratic system 1959. Number 1 point is Union Council and Union Committee. Number 2, Tehsil Council and Thana Council. Number 3, District Council. And number 4, Divisional Advisory Council. And number 5, Provincial Advisory Council. All these 5 points are included in this answer. Issued an ordinance of basic democracy on October 27, 1959, and introduced the system of local government in Pakistan. And the basic democracy system was designed to accomplish the multiple political objectives, and it was expected both to mobilize the mass of the people and especially in the rural areas for development activities, and to give them a sense of active participation in local affairs. General Ayub Khan designed local institution answerable to bureaucratic chief under basic democratic system 1959. The BD system of 1959 was comprised of divisional and district council, which financial, political, and administrative charges, and tenure of 5 years in both eastern and western part of the country. Tehsil and Thana Council were the Tehsil level tiers in eastern and western Pakistan respectively. Union and Municipal Committee were the grassroots council in urban, while the Union Council in rural areas. Councils of BD system were purely based on population of Union Council, and Union Committee were not authorized in budgetary allocations and appointments of members of town committee and the head of municipal committee and union. 13 is elaborate the role of Liaquat Ali Khan as the first Prime Minister of Pakistan. And the answer of this question is on your page number 99 and page number 100. Liaquat Ali Khan role as the first Prime Minister of Pakistan. Liaquat Ali Khan was appointed as the Prime Minister of Pakistan, and being the Prime Minister of the country, Liaquat Ali Khan had to deal with a number of difficulties that Pakistan faced in its early days. He helped Qaid-e-Azam in solving the refugees problem and in setting up of effective administrative system of the country. He establishing the groundwork for Pakistan foreign policy. He also took step toward the formulation of the constitution. He presented the objective resolution and the future constitution in the legislative assembly. The House passed it on March 12, 1949, and it is considerable to be the Magna Carta in Pakistan constitutional history. Liaquat Ali Khan called it the most important occasion in the life of his country, and next in importance only to the achievement of the independence under his leadership. A team also drafted the first report of Basic Principle Committee and work began on the second report. During his tenure, India and Pakistan agreed to resolve the dispute of Kashmir in peaceful manner throughout the efforts of the United Nations, and ceasefire was effective in Kashmir in January 1948. It was decided that a free and impartial plebiscite would be held under the supervision of the Security Council. After the death of Quaid-e-Azam, he tried to fill the vacuum created by the departure of father of the nation, and the problem of the religious minority flared during the 1949 and early 1950, and it seemed as if India and Pakistan were about to fight their second war in the first 3 years of their independence. At this critical moment in the history of South Asia, Prime Minister Liaquat Ali Khan met Nehru to sign the Liaquat-Nehru Pact in 1950, and the Liaquat-Nehru Pact was an effort on his part to improve the relation and reduce the tension between India and Pakistan. In May 1951, he visited the United States and set the course of Pakistan's foreign policy toward the closer ties with the West. An important event during his prime ministership, he established National Bank of Pakistan in November 1949 and the installation of paper currency mill in Karachi. Liaquat Ali Khan was unfortunately assassinated on October 16, 1951. And Liaquat Ali Khan is also known as Qaid-e-Millat and Shaheed-e-Millat, and he played a vital role in Pakistan history. I hope now you understand all these questions, learn them by heart. We will do the exercise of chapter number 4, History of Pakistan, part 1. 4 possible options are given for each statement. On the correct option, the Objectives Resolution was passed in 1949. What percentage was the population of East Pakistan of the total population of Pakistan? And the percentage was 56%. And 6 points formula was presented by Mujibur Rahman. And the options are Mujibur Rahman, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, Bashani and Yahya Khan, and the correct option is Mujibur Rahman. The East Pakistan emerged as an independent state on the map of the world in 1971. General Muhammad Yahya Khan, the President of Islamic Republic of Pakistan, announced a legal framework order LFO to hold the general election in 1970. According to LFO, the number of National Assembly seats was 313. Option B is the correct option. Which language was declared the national language after the establishment of Pakistan? Urdu language was declared as the national language after the establishment of Pakistan. Which party won the majority seats in West Pakistan in the general election of 1970? And the option is C is the correct option, Pakistan People's Party. General Muhammad Yahya Khan took over the government on March 1969. President General Muhammad Ayub Khan introduced land reforms in 1959. The duration of second 5-year plan is 1960 to 1965. Indus Water Treaty was by the World Bank. The Constitution of 1956 remained enforced for a period of 2 years and 7 months. The growth of an economy from backward to advanced economy is known as economic development. With the efforts of the United Nations, a ceasefire took place in the War of 1965 on 23rd September 1965. The total number of the members of basic democracies was 80,000. Question number 2. Match the column A with the column B. The death of Liaquat Ali Khan was in 1951. Match the death of Liaquat Ali Khan with 1951. The objective resolution was passed in the year 1949. Second Constitution of Pakistan was enforced in 1962. End of one unit in West Pakistan in 1970. Ayub Khan martial law declared in 1958. Question number 3. Fill in the blanks. Maulvi Tamizuddin was the Speaker of the Constitution Assembly of Pakistan, and you write Speaker in this blank. Second blank is because of unjust division by Redcliffe, India succeeded in getting land access to state of Jammu and Kashmir. Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah Rahmatullah Alayh conducted first educational conference in the year 1947. Liaquat Ali Khan got the objective resolution passed from the assembly in the year 1949. The first constitution of Pakistan was implemented in the country on 23rd March 1956. General Ayub Khan promulgated Muslim Family Laws Ordinance in 1961. President Ayub Khan introduced a new system of basic democratic in 1959. In 1960, Indus Water Treaty was signed between India and Pakistan by World Bank. Liaquat Ali Khan and Nehru Pact was made in 1950. Liaquat Nehru Pact was made in 1950. Liaquat Ali Khan joined Pakistan Muslim League in the year 1923. Number 4 is write the short answers. Question number 1 is how was the first Constitution Assembly formed? And the answer is when the days of freedom was approaching near, the Constituent Assembly elected by Qaid-e-Azam as a president on August 11, 1947, 3 days before the creation of Pakistan. Chief Justice Sir Abdul Rashid took oath from Qaid-e-Azam Rahmatullah Alayh. Originally, the Constitution Assembly consisted of 69 members. Afterwards, this members was increased to 79. Maulvi Tamizuddin was appointed as the first Speaker of the Assembly. A provisional constitution was adopted with some modification in Indian Act of 1935 until the new constitution was introduced. According to this constitution, federal system was launched in the country. Maulvi Tamizuddin was appointed as the first Speaker of the Assembly. A provisional constitution was adopted with some modification in Indian Act of 1935 until the new constitution was introduced. According to this constitution, federal system was launched in the country. The provisional constitution, the Constituent Assembly that also had the role of central parliament was summoned for its first session. Question number 2. Describe any 5 points of the land reform introduced by Ayub Khan. And these 5 points are: no person was to own more than 500 acre of irrigated or 1000 acre of non-irrigated land. In case of gardens or meadows, the landlords was given the right to own 150 acres more land. Number 2 point is the landlord were given the right to transfer their excess land to the women of their families and orphan children. However, the transferred land would not exceed the limit of 250 acres of irrigated and 500 acres of non-irrigated land. Third reform is present landlord would hand over the excess land to the government. The landlords would be compensated of their snatched lands within 25 years in installments. Number 4th reform is The Jagirs were confiscated without any compensation. However, the Jagirs dedicated to educational, religious, or charitable institutions were exempted. Fifth reform is excess land was distributed amongst the tenants already cultivating the land. They were declared the owner of the land. The tenants and landless farmers were given the right to purchase land from the government on easy installment. Number 6 point is the tenants were given the legal protection against their ejection from land, and it was declared unlawful to charge any illegal fee, late labor, or any other services from the tenants. Number 7, the increase the rate of ijara, share of landlords, was also banned. On the recommendation of Land Commission, steps were taken to consolidate the fragmented small holdings. Condition of fragmented agricultural land holding continued for many years. According to a statement of Ayub Khan, about 9 million acres of land were consolidated. Question number 3 is write 5 Islamic provisions of the Constitution of 1956. Islamic provision of 1956 are the answer of this question, and you can write any 5 of them. According to the Constitution, the name of the country was adopted as the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Number 2, it was declared that the president of the country shall be Muslim. Number 3, the objective resolution was included as a preamble to the Constitution. According to the resolution, and the sovereignty over the entire universe belong to Allah Almighty, and the authority He has delegated to state for Pakistan through its people for being exercised within the limits prescribed by Him in a sacred trust. Number 4th point is the Muslims shall be enabled to order their lives in the individual and collective spheres in accordance with the teaching and requirements of Islam. Number 5, no law would be passed or promulgated against the teaching of the Quran and Sunnah. Usury, sale of alcohol and narcotics and prostitution shall be banned and were prohibited. Number 7, Pakistan shall be made a welfare state. All these are the Islamic provision of 1956 Constitution. Next, question number 4 is what were the targets of second 5-year development plan? And the second 5-year plan was started in 1960 and ends in 1965 with the termination of the first plan period 1955 to 1960. The second 5-year plan was prepared. Following were the main objectives and targets of the plan: to attain an increase in international income by 24%, to achieve an increase of about 10% in per capita income, to provide the opportunity of employment to 2.5 million people, to get an increase of 14% in agriculture output, to increase industrial production up to 14% in large scale as well as medium scale industries, to increase the industrial production of cottage and small scale industries up to 25%. Number 7 is to increase export at the rate of 3% annual increase. Next, question number 5 is what was the role of Pakistan Navy in the War of 1965? Role of Pakistan Navy remained fully alert during this war, and our Navy destroyed famous Indian naval base Dewarka on the coast of Kathiawar and did a heroic achievement when India launched a sudden attack on a unit of Pakistan Navy. An Indian ship was sunk by Pakistan Navy in this fight while other ships retreated. Next question number 6 is write any 5 points of Muslim Family Laws Ordinance. The President Ayub Khan promulgated Muslim Family Laws Ordinance in 1961, and this ordinance was Muslim marriages were to be compulsorily registered in union councils. Unwanted polygamy was abolished, and consent of the current wife and permission by the chairman union council was made mandatory for the second marriage. The minimum age limit for marriage was fixed 18 years for boys and 16 years for girls. In case of divorce, a period of 90 days was fixed as iddat period. Often, grandchildren may receive share from the property of their grandparents. The increasing population of Pakistan shall be controlled through family planning. A group of religious scholars opposed this ordinance, and they declared that the ordinance was against the teaching of Islam. But with the passage of time, the majority of the people accepted it. Number 7 is describe 2 causes of the war 1965. And the 2 cause, number 1 cause is Pakistan was established against the wishes of Hindus. So they never accepted Pakistan from the bottom of their heart, and wonderful progress and stability of Pakistan constituted a major concern for them. So they started launching aggressive action against Pakistan. The Kashmir conflict is the real cause of war 1965. Indian occupied Kashmir against the will of the Kashmiri people. Kashmiri people are in favor of accession to Pakistan. But India has always avoided holding the promised plebiscite in Kashmir in accordance with the resolution passed by the Security Council. As a punishment of supporting Kashmiri people morally and raising Kashmir issue all over the world, India imposed war on Pakistan in 1965. Pakistan extended moral support to the people of Kashmir and raised the Kashmir issue all over the world, not like which India did. Question number 8 is what are the points for the future policies described in the legal framework order, and these points are future strategy were decided in the legal framework order, and these points are promotion of Islamic way of living, the practice, the moral teaching of Islam, to take step to promote Islamic principle in the country, to make arrangements to provide the education of Quran and Islamia to the Muslim. Question number 9. What is meant by Union Council and Union Committee? And the answer to this question is the lower tier of basic democracies was composed of Union Councils. It was called Union Council for rural areas and Union Committee for urban areas. 1,000 to 1,500 voters elected one member directly, and he or she was called BD member, and they were responsible for the sanitation arrangements of street lights and passengers and houses, keeping death and birth record. Next question is how was the Constitution of 1956 abrogated? The Constitution of 1956 was passed after a long time, and it was made after 9 years but did not last for long and proved to be short-lived due to the specific circumstances of Pakistan, which include the mutual differences and quarrels of the politicians, unfair interruptions of army and bureaucracy, in democratic institutions, lack of able leadership, and high handedness of Governor General in the affairs of the government. This Constitution of 1956 remained implemented for 2 years and 7 months only. In October 1958, in the Commander-in-Chief of Pakistan Army, General Muhammad Ayub Khan, dismissed the government and set up a military regime in the country. He assumed all the powers in his own hand. He abrogated the Constitution of 1956. He dissolved all the assemblies, national assemblies as well as the provincial assemblies. He took over the charge of the office of President and Chief Martial Law Administrator. Next question is, what is meant by the single citizenship? The citizens of Pakistan shall have only a single citizenship. All the citizens shall be called Pakistanis. In America, the people enjoy dual citizenship. One citizenship of central government, the other of the government of the state. Whereas in Pakistan, the constitution established the principle of single citizenship. Next question number 12 is, which area of Muslim majority India got as a result of unjust division by Radcliffe? Radcliffe unjustly deprived Pakistan of some important areas and 3 of tehsils of Gurdaspur district and Gurdaspur, Pathankot and Batala and Zira, the tehsil of Firozpur and some other areas comprised of an overwhelming majority of population of the Muslims were handed over to Indians. Question number 13. How was the Malakand division formed? And in NWFP, now called the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Dir, Swat and Chitral maintained their identity as independent state. Even after the establishment of Pakistan, the people of these areas were not enjoying such facilities as the people in West Pakistan were enjoying. So General Yahya Khan abolished the separate status of these states in 1969. These 3 states were merged to form Malakand division and it was made an administrative part of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Next question is question number 14. What do you mean by economic development? The growth of an economy from backward to advanced economy is known as economic development. It is a process through which such changes are introduced in economy by adopting and utilizing the modern advanced capital and human resources as increase the income of the country. The living standard of the people rises. The masses enjoy better opportunities of education, health, employment and recreation. The last question is, mention 5 targets of third 5-year development plan. And the answer of this question is, the main objective and targets of third 5-year plan were to enhance the pace of national development and to increase the gross domestic product GDP as much as 37%, to increase per capita income at the rate of 20%, to provide employments to 5.5 million people, to accelerate the pace of agriculture growth and to increase it at the rate of 5% annually, to increase the industrial growth at the rate of 13% annually, to prefer to the establishment of basic industries, to bring stability in the balance of payment by increasing the foreign exchange, to make efforts to improve the basic facilities and to provide social security. This was all for today's topic. Hope all of you have understood the delivered lecture. If any of you have any question, any query, please contact without any hesitation. Stay safe, stay blessed and study regularly. Allah Hafiz.